Hey there, NFIHammer here. Welcome back to the channel. Today is a special day because we're diving into uncharted territory. I'm going to build my very first Triarch Stalker. So this Triarch Stalker is from the Necron faction in Warhammer 40k. And as a beginner myself, I'm going to take you along this journey step by step as we assemble and prime this titanic model. But I'm also going to just gently touch on the lore and how it performs on the tabletop as well. So this model comes in the Imperium magazine issue 52 and 53, and this is a really good value. For example, it costs $40 dues, but buying it from the Games Workshop costs $85 dues. In American money, that's $28 versus $60, and in pounds, that's £18 versus £37.50. So you're getting this model for about half price if you can get it through the magazine. It is difficult to try and track these magazines because they do sell out really quickly, but they've got some cool lore and stuff in the magazines, as well as step-by-step assembly and painting instructions. So normally if you've watched the videos on my channel, I normally do a build and paint video, but this model ended up being so massive and so big, and I made so many mistakes along the way, that I thought I'd just do a video dedicated to how to build it. And that way I can help anyone else that's trying to build this at home not make the same mistakes that I made. So stay tuned for later. I'll drop the video with the painting, but for now this is just going to be building and priming, as well as a little bit of lore and tabletop stats. So the first step is to build this console that the Triarch Praetorian is driving. And it kind of reminds me of like a little DJ set, and you'll see what I mean later. But this is just like the very first step. It's pretty straightforward. I do try and cut off some of the sprue sections on camera, but I kind of just do a lot of that off camera because it's not that exciting to watch. And I also, struggle a little bit here, even on the first one. I have been a bit out of practice. You might have noticed that I haven't done any videos for a little while, and I've just been going through my backlog and trying to get through some of my older models. So I haven't really been doing videos for a while. So yeah, after you've got the little console, you need to put this chair together, and it's kind of giving me Professor Xavier kind of, vibes from X-Men. It's kind of this like hovering little chair thing. And then weirdly, you kind of just put the feet on it directly. But what I'm doing is I'm letting that dry, and then I'm going to work on the actual chest and body next. So this is kind of really cool for a Necron. I hadn't seen it before, but the Necron model, which kind of like a Necron warrior, has this kind of shielding backpack spine thing on. And I thought, it looked really interesting. Hadn't seen that before. I wish they actually did that more on other models. It kind of gives it kind of like a Terminator armor exoskeleton look, which I thought is pretty interesting for Necrons, because usually it's just, very fancy shoulder pads that they're wearing. So now that the Professor Xavier chair is dried, I'm now gluing the legs on. I'm not really being too fussy with the glue because this model is so big and this is such a small detail in the middle that a little bit of glue hopefully won't be too visible, but famous last words. And then while the legs are drying, I'm assembling this kind of like skeleton backpack for the driver. So this is my very first Triarch model that I've painted. I've painted a few canoptic ones so far, but this is the very first one. And reading about it in the lore, it seems like the Necron society was kind of this 3-leader triumvirate kind of thing, and these 3 people basically controlled all of society. And so this was their kind of ruling class, kind of elite secret service units. So going back to the body, now it's just time to put his head on and his spine skeleton. I did really struggle with the head here. It is very hard to place. I actually ended up getting tweezers off camera and just trying to position it, but I felt like it's kind of missing a few millimeters. Like the neck seemed to be a little bit too low in the body, in my opinion. I would have preferred if it kind of was a little bit higher up. And then there's also this kind of antenna kind of thing as well that you attach to the chair. So yeah, these Triarch Stalkers are these kind of massive, spider vehicles that are kind of anti-tank weaponry, and it's kind of enables the other Necron units to kind of target better, I guess, because it's got like such, tool on the battlefield, like it's got good visibility as well as like advanced sensory stuff. So the way that Games Workshop has tied that into the actual tabletop is to make it so that once it's shot a unit, then all other units in your army can ignore cover, which I thought was kind of a cool way of tying the lore into the tabletop. So this is the DJ console that I was talking about before. It really looks like he's spinning tracks on here, which I thought was quite funny. Again, normally I dry fit models, but I was just kind of excited to get something new and building something new because it has been about a month, and there is just so much of this model to get through. So I was trying to cut corners, but as you'll see later, I make some pretty big mistakes along the way. So I'll definitely call them out when they're happening so you don't have to make the same mistakes as me. So now that everything's all kind of connected, it's time to connect his hand with the rest of his body by using this upper shoulder section. And then on the other arm, it's kind of free positioning. I did try and place it like high up so there was like a gap between the hand and the console, because I felt like it was more of a dynamic pose, but gravity is my enemy and I think it kind of pulled the hand down. So while that's drying somewhere else, I've started actually working now on the vehicle itself. So there's these 6 kind of cups that the legs fit into, 2 at the front and then 4 at the back. And so these 4, don't do this. This is the wrong way around. So the 2 at the front need to be facing up, but the 4 at the back need to be facing down. And I didn't notice that, even though it's very clearly in the instructions, but I just, for some reason, my brain couldn't figure it out. I will go back and fix it, but I haven't realized yet at this point in filming. So the next thing is to kind of work on this kind of sensor targeter at the back of the spider. And I'm kind of interested in like painting this. I think there's lots of cool glyph details in this. I did put the glue on the back of the square, but there's actually a gap there inside the model. So I have to reapply the glue to the corners of the square here. And you want to make sure that the cord on that tail is pointed down towards the front. So I actually have it right here, but I went and panicked and flipped it the wrong way. So yeah, I've realized the mistake of these. Luckily I've got it just in time before the plastic glue that I'm using, which is the Citadel plastic cement, fully set. It did make the model look really ugly because of that, but luckily it's tucked away in the center of it, so it's not super noticeable. And again, yeah, you want the tail cord pointing down relative to the front 2 of the leg sockets. So I think I got it right. I guess, it looks right to me anyway. Let me know in the comments below if I still got it wrong. So by now the DJ Professor X has fully dried, so it's time to finish the human, the Necron compartment on top of the vehicle. So they've got these 2 armor plates here. These ones didn't really like click into place very well, so you do just kind of have to hold this until it sets. But yeah, I really like this kind of idea of having this little capsule on top of this giant spider mech thing. I think it's pretty awesome. It's very Necron-y, which is why I love this faction in 40k. So now it's time to actually get into the legs. So the front two legs, you know, click into the front two ball sockets. I don't know if there's there are specific legs to go into specific sockets. I don't know if I actually stuck to it because I kept putting them in but not gluing them, and then they would just pop out. So if I was doing this again, and what I recommend is just glue each leg in one at a time as they're meant to go in, and actually hold them in the leg socket until they set, because later I glue them now, but I'm not actually holding them in position, and it's not really doing the right thing. So with this, definitely just go one leg at a time, go slow, and don't do what I did, which is just try and get all legs done at the same time, because it doesn't work. This is a really cool section. So the front two legs have this kind of movable movement range in them, so the model isn't like fixed into a particular pose, but the legs can go up and down. So I thought that was really cool. I would like actually to see more of the models have this sort of behavior, but it definitely gives it a bit of dynamic pose where you can kind of change it to actually kind of look like it's walking on terrain. And so here, yeah, because I haven't like let the legs dry properly and set, this process here was really bad. So I left it in, even though it's embarrassing how bad this is, but just so that you can learn from my mistakes. And yeah, definitely just take your time with the legs one at a time. And you can position the angle of these because they are adjustable. So I kind of wanted to position them a little bit high so that there's movement. And then this was giving me T-Rex arms vibe. So there's these two tiny little pincers at the very front. I really don't know how in reality this would actually do anything, just because the model is so big and these pincers are so small, but I thought they were kind of cute and funny, so I did enjoy putting these on. These were actually very straightforward, unlike the other 6 legs. So these, you know, Stalkers have just had a rework on the 10th edition in the latest Necron Codex that just dropped at the point of filming this. So I'm really excited to see how they perform. They've got 3 different weapon profiles. So this is the particle shredder. So this is kind of aimed at destroying other vehicles. I did assemble it with this originally, and then I changed my mind last second. But this one's pretty interesting. It's got blast and devastating wounds, and it has a d6 plus 6 attacks. So that means you roll a dice and you add that to 6. And they hit on a 2+ with a strength 7. So seems like a really cool weapon, but I just kind of didn't like the look of it. It just kind of seemed a little bit boring to me personally. When I saw the heat ray, I was like, oh, this is much cooler. Like, it's this kind of, you know, radiation cannon thing. It just seemed a little bit more sci-fi to me. This one has 2 different profiles. One's like a 12-inch dispersed profile that ignores cover and torrent, which means it automatically hits, and that has a strength 5 of AP 1. But it also has a focused profile, which is a melter 4, which means within half the distance it does extra strength, and that hits on a 2, ballistic skill of 3, and a strength of 9 with a massive AP -4 and a damage of a d6. This is the one that I actually kind of wish I'd stuck to, just because it kind of goes more with my other models, but this is a twin heavy Gauss cannon with lethal hits, 24-inch range, 6 attack on a 3+, with a strength of 8 and an AP of 2. I just think the idea of having two like triple barreled guns is just pretty cool. Just looks really impressive, but I guess it's kind of meant to be more anti-tank, and this is probably more of an anti-infantry weapon. So I don't know, I'll see how I feel. Ideally, you know, I could like try and swap them out with magnets and try to do that, but as a beginner, I think it's just way beyond my capabilities. Next is like priming. So I'm using this Rust-Oleum black primer paint. I just get this from Bunnings, it's around $17. I'm trying to do a really light coat because I find that if I do it too heavy, I lose some detail. So I've just like let it rest and dry, and then I've come back and kind of turned it upside down just to get into the areas that I missed the first time. I'm also spraying my grass black, which is not great, but next time I mow, it will fix it. So this is what it looks like. So you've got the, you know, the Stalker on the right, you've got the little capsule of the pilot here. I've kept the weapon separate, as well as the little weapon thing that connects to the actual model. And yeah, I'm really impressed with like how big this model is. Like, I had no idea when I started that it was this big. It really kind of dwarfs all the other ones put together, and even the Canoptic Doomstalker. It's definitely taller, but it doesn't have this kind of awe-inspiring presence. So you can just put the capsule on the top. When I finish painting it, I'll probably glue it all together, but for now, just so that I can kind of get in there and paint that Necron power energy at the top. But yeah, I'm really impressed with how it turned out. I'm super excited to get painting. However, I think it's going to be a big paint job, I think, with something of this size. Anyway, let me know in the comments if there's anything I missed, or if you've got any suggestions on how I should paint it. You know, and if you haven't already, consider hitting the like and subscribe button. It really helps me out, and it helps the YouTube algorithm gods recommend my videos. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.